At what point, I remember you saying in a previous interview that the first time you heard about stocks in the stock market, you were told that's where white folks keep their money.
Yeah. Still believe that today.
So what made you start looking at the stock market and investing?
So the way my mind always worked kind of in this very like kind of practical way, even in my illiteracy days, where when I seen something, it was like that's kind of what it is, right? I didn't really have a lot of opinions either which way. I was like, that's what it is. As I started to educate myself, I started to be able to translate things to fit my idea of what something was supposed to be. So when I first heard about the stock market, the first thing I thought was, how was it possible for people to make this kind of money? Right, like I mean, we're not talking about basketball players, which is the people I've always looked at making money with, the basketball players, the NFL players, the rappers, the actors. It's like these ones. I didn't even know none of these people, and these people had money. These people had money that was next to countries, at least their net worth, 40, 30, 40, 50 billion dollars. And so I was curious about how people were able to do that. And when I learned about the stock market and I started to study it, I started to see that it was basically this idea of the average man or woman being able to invest into publicly traded companies. And so I said, this is very similar to the dope game. This is very similar to any of the legal activity that I was doing as far as an entrepreneur. Basically, I was buying something, and I was trying to figure out the value of what I bought, how to increase that value, and I would sell it at a higher price. And so I said, well, hell, the stock game appears to be the same thing to me. Basically, what people were doing was they were taking these big old companies public, and anyone can buy. And so my thing was, if I picked a company, I would have to figure out what that company does. Which, if I go out and I buy a key of cocaine, I got to figure out, make sure the key is what it's supposed to be, make sure the dope is real. Now I know it's real, so I know this is a viable business. Then I got to figure out, is this the proper price? So I got this key of cocaine. I got to figure out, is it worth 15 that I'm going to pay, or is it should be worth 20, whatever the case may be. And I decide that this company's stock price is worth $9 because the business is doing whatever it's doing. And I think that the company's stock price is going to go higher based on the projections of what it's supposed to be. So I got this key of cocaine, and I know the drought, and I know it's a drought right now. And I know if I sit on it, I can sell it at a higher price. So I was making these correlations between what was in the dope game. Now, I wasn't trading keys of cocaine, but I was using that as an analogy for on a smaller scale to give me an idea of how investment works. And that really sparked my appetite a lot more to really dig a lot more deeper into how it works. And I discovered that it was like the greatest thing that man could have ever invented that would allow a person from the hood, right, or the average Joe to own a piece of the greatest brands that the world has ever seen, and it's legal. And it's legal, and I can use the same skill sets, right, the same management style that I use in my illegal business, I can use now in his legal business. And that's kind of like how I've seen it.
Right. And, for example, I invest very heavily in stocks. Most of the money that I make from my company ends up getting invested in the stock market.
No
and this
doubt,
is actually how I've built a lot of my wealth. And Warren Buffett,
right.
When I first started, I read Warren Buffett's book, The Snowball. And then I read the book that he learned from, which was The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham.
I read that one too. Right, by Benjamin Graham.
Now, I think coming from me, a lot of people don't quite make the connection, because, I'm white, I'm a little bit older and so forth. But explain to the people how Warren Buffett changed your life.
So Warren Buffett was this really, and is today, is this really laid back, really simple concept kind of guy, right? And this is how I always seen him. So when I would read about him and the things that he did, he never really talked over my head to me. And the things that he did, I felt like he was talking to me by saying, like, You didn't need to have a huge IQ. You know, you didn't need to know a whole bunch about math. Like you didn't need to have any kind of special skill sets. What you needed to do was have fundamental understanding. And when he was saying those things, right, it resonated with me so much because coming from the hood, you know, coming from, you know, broken family, torn home, you know, just like millions of people today, my mother being a drug addict and grandparents and my close-knit family and all this kind of stuff, I felt like when he was saying those things, he was saying that even in your conditions, you still can play the same games that I'm playing, right? The conditions that you're in doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to you, and that's how I seen that. And it resonated with me so much to where he became my Michael Jordan. He became, my Michael Jackson. So he was the one that motivated me the most because he was the top, right? It wasn't nothing, as far as investment go, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing bigger than Warren Buffett. And because his strategies and philosophy, I always seen as being so simplified, right? Especially for a person like myself to understand and grasp, I felt like anybody can understand that. So my goal was to take what he had used and translate it even more simpler to people that came directly from my backgrounds, who were young, who were black, who were growing up in poverty, and those who had made it out the hood, right? Maybe they was playing in the NBA, maybe they was rapping, maybe they was doing these things, but still didn't have a full understanding of how investing in the markets build the level of wealth that you can leave beyond generations and generations. And so, seeing what he had did, and then his appetite for philanthropy also spoke volumes to me. Him and Gates, they pledged to give 90% of their wealth away. And I used to always say, like, man, I ain't giving nobody shit. I ain't going to give my money to a whole bunch of people. And when I started to understand investments, I thought, you can't give the money wherever you wanted to. Just the idea of, how you make dividends off the companies and just how it pay. It's not as simple as I'm just going to give all my money away, when you talk about these vast holdings that they have. And that just always been so mind-blowing to me that I could sit inside of a prison and trade from here, right? Maybe not have success that they're having currently because of my circumstances, but that I can define success for myself and worth of myself that can keep me from having to break the law. And he did that for me, right? His the way he is, the way he walks, the way he acts, the way he does things, and I've only read about him and seen him on TV, but I feel like I've met him, personally, and that a lot of things he do is personally directed at me, and that's just kind of always used to motivate myself to continue along the path of investing and educating other people to do the same.